but they had a number of groups. So the disbursements were disbursed directly to the groups, and the recoveries are being recovered from the groups. This one just came in as a guarantor.
A non-governmental organization with links to Haruna Kyeyune Kasolo, the junior microfinance minister, has been named in a whistleblower's report filed before a parliamentary oversight committee in which a conflict of interest is alleged. It is feared that billions of shillings advanced through the NGO to savings and credit cooperative organizations in Chotera County, Rakai district may be unrecoverable. The minister was a lawmaker for Chotera between 2016 and 2021, but lost his seat in the last election. Suspicions that he may have abused his position to influence a government lending agency to the preferential benefit of his constituents then are under inquiry.
I've been here quietly listening. But
A probe by the House Committee is yet to establish any evidence of wrongdoing by the minister. Kasolo Foundation Limited is reported to have been involved in a disbursement of billions from the government's Microfinance Support Centre. As a company limited by guarantee and which the government set up to extend affordable microcredit services to financially marginalized groups, MSC has two shareholders, namely the Minister of Finance and the Minister of General Duties in the Office of the Prime Minister. Both shareholders are represented on its board, with Mr. Kasolo representing the Finance Ministry. A board resolution filed with the Uganda Registration Services Bureau on January 30th, 2020, names Mr. Kasolo as the sole signatory to Kasolo Foundation's bank account. Mr. Joel Senyonyi, the chairperson of the House Committee on Commission, Statutory Authorities and State Enterprises, COSASE, said while many of these things are not expressly stated in the Auditor General's report, his journalistic instinct and journalistic background has led him on a quest that cannot be reduced to a fishing expedition.
So that's why I said the Auditor General's report is like news headlines. Then for us, we go into the news in detail. Because if money is not accounted for according to the Auditor General, Auditor General might not, whether for want of time or understaffing, as they say, sometimes they'll not follow every little, if they're saying, now this money, there was no clear accountability for it. Now ours is to establish, okay, so these billions of shillings, which in the Auditor General's report are not accounted for, where did this money go? Who took it? For what purpose? Under what law? Who approved?
John Mwebembezi do solemnly swear that the evidence shall give.
The committee received the whistleblower's tip implicating the minister's NGO just as it began reviewing a report of the Auditor General on MSC's accounts for the year ending June 30th, 2022. In this Auditor General report, it is highlighted that the Centre's loan portfolio performed poorly on recoveries and that there were lapses in carrying out due diligence during credit appraisal processes, a fact that the whistleblower's tip partly attributed to alleged preferential lending to organizations like Kasolo Foundation. 2 years before the Auditor General audited its account, the Microfinance Support Centre's own 2019-2020 annual report stated that board members had a fiduciary duty to declare potential conflicts of interest which may undermine the position or service of a director. A director who may have a material personal interest in a matter that relates to the affairs of the Centre must give the other directors prior notice of such interest. In the board resolution filed with the Uganda Registration Services Bureau on January 30th, 2020, Kasolo Foundation Limited resolved to open and operate a shillings bank account in Cairo Bank and appointed Mr. Kasolo as the sole signatory. This resolution was signed by Ms. Zainabu Namaganda and Ms. Sophia Namuleme as company directors. Previously, a special resolution was filed on 10th November 2017 with the Register of Companies to the effect that the company, Kasolo Foundation, resolved to open up and operate a Uganda shillings current account in Centenary Bank, with Kyeyune Haruna Kasolo as one of two signatories to the account. Further, a special board meeting on 10th July 2019 At the company's registered office at Chotera Town Council, Chotera District, Kasolo Foundation was authorized to borrow a loan facility of 2 billion shillings from the Microfinance Support Centre Limited. Coincidentally, the 2019-2020 annual report to the Microfinance Support Centre lists Kasolo Foundation amongst its partners. It is not clear, however, whether the minister declared his conflict of interest to MSC's board before his foundation became a party to the multi-billion MSC-related transactions. It is also not clear from that annual report whether Kasolo Foundation is categorized as a development partner which provides financing and technical support, or an implementing partner that mediates between MSC and final beneficiaries. Speaking to Sunday Monitor recently, Kasolo in a telephone interview said that he had not taken a shilling out of the 2 billion shillings MSC loan facility. They have never lent Kasolo Foundation any money. They never sent any money to the foundation's account. The money was lent to individual groups in Chotera. It was they, MSC staff, who advised that I guarantee the loans. They never handed me any single coin. My crime was to maybe want my people to benefit, Kasolo said. The MSC is reported to have signed financing agreements with a number of circles operating under the wings of Kasolo Foundation. NTV Panorama was unable to ascertain whether those circles under Kasolo Foundation have repaid their loans or how much of it remains unpaid. The executive director at MSC, Mr. Peter Mujuni, declined to comment, insisting that borrower information is confidential. Borrowers, especially when they have done nothing wrong, need protection. A normal borrower needs protection. We should not be publishing borrowers' particulars anywhere unless they have done something wrong. That would be undermining their rights, he said. According to the Auditor General's report now before COSASE, MSC received budget financing from the government through Emyooga grants to the tune of 100 billion shillings and other credit funds worth 27.7 billion for the financial year 2021-2022. The centre also had on its books 40 billion shillings in internally generated funds from loan processing fees and interest earned. It is part of this money which was loaned out to circles like those operating under Kasolo Foundation. Audits of this money to establish payment performance revealed that the loan portfolio was in a bad state. There was no evidence of monitoring of loans and credits, and loans worth 4.1 billion shillings were dispersed without proper loan appraisals. Such lapses were some of the emerging concerns as COSASE opened its inquiries. The failings are consistent with MSC's previous and long-standing institutional challenges flagged in another report also filed by the Auditor General 6 years ago in June 2017. That report said that the MSC's lending policies were not fully adhered to. This contributed to the many scandals that have dogged the agency. For instance, in 2011, following an investigation by the Inspectorate of Government, the then board chaired by former Vice President Dr. Specioza Wandira Kazibwe was suspended due to impropriety. Nearly 3 years earlier, an October to December 2009 budget monitoring report of the Ministry of Finance had unearthed widespread conflict of interest by board members who borrowed MSC money but never paid back. The same applies to politicians who borrow money and fail to pay back. Loans are at times given to the board members without going through the loans committee. It has become increasingly difficult for staff members to recover money from board members and politicians for fear of losing their jobs, the 2009 Budget Monitoring Report said. More recently, in 2020, the agency's head, Mr. Peter Mujuni, was charged and remanded to Kitalia Prison over the alleged misappropriation of 10.8 billion shillings meant for the teachers' circle.
In the Parliament, last year, we were talking about Emyooga, and every member of Parliament was complaining that this Emyooga money did not reach the people. Across, opposition, NRM, everybody was complaining and saying, this money here, where did it go?
It is against this background that the June 2020 report of the Auditor General on the Microfinance Support Centre was tabled in the House and is being considered by COSASE. Now, as an intriguing subplot to the COSASE probe, the Speaker of Parliament has written to Mr. Senyonyi stating that the mandate to scrutinise the Microfinance Support Centre does not reside with his committee. My guidance to the committee is to leave the examination of the audited accounts of the Microfinance Support Centre to the Committee of Park Central, which has the jurisdiction to do so. Speaker Anita Among's July 25, 2023 letter reads. Ms. Among also indicated to the COSASE chair that his committee was handling tasks outside its scope. Government entities such as the Microfinance Support Centre fall outside the mandate of COSASE because it's neither a constitutional commission or statutory authority or state enterprise. 2 days later, Senyonyi differed in his response to the Speaker. On January 19, 2023, the Auditor General's report on the Microfinance Support Centre was submitted to Parliament anew, Madam Speaker, referred it to COSASE. This was precisely because it falls under COSASE, and that is where it has always belonged. That is how, as a committee, we embarked on inquiring into it, he wrote on July 27, 2023. Citing established practice and the Public Finance Management Act, Mr. Senyonyi argued in his response to the Speaker that the Microfinance Support Centre is under the jurisdiction of COSASE. State enterprises are defined in Section 3 of the Public Finance Management Act to include companies registered under the Companies Act in which the government controls the composition of the board or controls more than 50% of the issued share capital. This legal definition was cited in Senyonyi's written response to the Speaker. Because the government controls the board and 100% of the company, it is a state enterprise, and all state enterprises are under COSASE.